All right, so here we are, episode 52, the 1-year review. Now, I'm very excited about this one because when I started this project, my first real goal was to find a way to just be consistent for an entire year. It wasn't to reach a certain number of views or reach a certain number of followers or subscribers, but just to not break the commitment. And we did it. I started off this vlogging experience looking for a creative outlet that could not only help me grow, but one that I could stick with and fit into my routine. And I'm unbelievably happy with what I've accomplished so far. So for today's episode, I'm taking a look back at some of the biggest lessons that I've learned so far after recording myself every single week for a year. Now, a lot has happened in the past 52 weeks. I got married, I lost a job, I started a new job. My wife found out where she'll be headed for her residency program, so we've been planning a move out of state, which is kind of crazy. There have just been some pretty wild major life changes, and it's kind of crazy to think how they're all captured. I can relive any of those experiences and see exactly what I was going through in these moments, which leads me to my first takeaway. Document what you're experiencing. Journal, record yourself, turn on your voice memos as you're driving home, whatever you need to do, just let out your internal dialogue. And I say this for two reasons. First, for years, I've had like a shit day at work, right? And I just let it marinate for hours, and then that shit attitude, I'd bring it home with me, and then that would turn into a shit night, and this cycle would just build. But by airing out all of my grievances with the world once a week, it's a great way for me to just kind of get it all out of my system. Now, sometimes it doesn't really help you solve any of the problems, but just the act of venting is very therapeutic, and it helps me think more clearly. And building off that, reason number two, what I really like about this experience is the ability to see how time can really help heal things. It can completely change your perspective for the better. For example, I had an extremely difficult time during the last few months of the year when I was job searching. And I can noticeably see that in these videos if I rewatch them. Whether I'm discussing topics about like self-improvement and what I've tried to do that week, or even a random topic that maybe diverted my attention for a few days, I can just easily recall how much I struggled during that time. And sure, I mean, the present moment has its own challenges too. Life isn't perfect, but it's nice to be able to see progress and that things can get better. It's also nice to be able to relive some of those moments of like joy and happiness too, re-listening to stories that I otherwise like would have forgotten about, or hearing myself talk about how nervous I was just days before getting married, things like that. And a lot can happen in a year. I mean, if you look back even at like the last few years of your life, like a lot of things start to like blend together in a way. Just look at those crazy COVID times. In the moment, it felt like it was going to just completely drag on forever, and we'd completely have to adapt the way we're living. But now it's just like a blip in time, you know? So start archiving more moments in your life. You're going to really appreciate it down the line. Takeaway number two, you get much more out of life when you work harder on yourself than your profession. For years now, I feel like I've been a very success-driven person. Just work hard, grind it out, put your head down, and eventually you'll achieve this mystical just destination of success. But throughout this time, I feel like my definition of success is evolving, and the podcast is helping me realize that my like quote unquote success isn't as dependent on my career as I previously viewed it. Don't get me wrong, there's still like a lot I'd like to accomplish professionally, but this little experiment kind of makes you so much more present, I think. I'm constantly just finding myself kind of take a step back and, you know, like really appreciating a good moment in time. And where I find myself most often like taking in those moments, they're usually pretty far separated from the work environment or work that I've done. It's like finding a good routine, making dinner to some really good music, watching a shit movie on the couch with my wife, or even being able to challenge myself weekly by talking for 15 minutes straight and trying to make something positive out of it, which isn't an easy thing to do. Anthony Bourdain had a great quote where he said, "Eat at a local restaurant tonight, get the cream sauce, have a cold pint at 4 o'clock in a mostly empty bar, go somewhere where you've never been, listen to someone you think may have nothing common with you, order the steak rare, eat an oyster, have a Negroni, have two, be open to a world where you may not understand or agree with the person next to you, but have a drink with them anyways. Eat slowly, tip your server, check in on your friends, check in on yourself, and enjoy the ride." Now, a little ironic, I'm taking positivity advice from someone like him, but I think he was onto something. Is that not what success should be? Like pursuing happiness and enjoying the presence of time and living in a world where you're just generally unbothered by little annoyances that you won't even remember in a month from now? Now, I'm not saying like be one of those people who quits their jobs to renovate a bus and live off like the land. I'm not a spontaneous person whatsoever. Like I love routine. I have a plan when I go to the grocery store even. But I feel like I'm finally understanding what makes me happy. And it's these small moments of joy throughout the day that I want to pursue. They're like fuck it moments when you're like, you know what the hell? Let's spend a little more time just enjoying something. And it's nice being able to look back on the day and say, today was a successful day, when in reality, maybe I only accomplished a few tasks, but I also slowly brewed a delicious cup of coffee or took 5 more minutes out of my afternoon to just actively play fetch with my dog, or I make a really good sauce from scratch, because life is hard, man. And it's crucial that you figure out what's important to you so that you can just go after it. And that picture of success, I think, is going to look different for everyone. But this vlogging experience has taught me that if you want to find happiness, it's something you need to consistently just work on, but it's worth the investment. And finally, takeaway number 3, which I'm still having trouble accepting, but in reality, nobody gives a shit. I have told very few people about this little podcasting experience, and I haven't publicized it for one reason and one reason alone, and that's judgment. For me, it's easy to post something like this and just accept that a bunch of random people are going to see it. It's the same as being on camera for work, for a social video, and it's just some random dude is just scrolling on Instagram and I'm just some other irrelevant person on their feed. And because of that, I don't really care much about their opinions. They don't know me. It's more so the people I know directly in life, the judgment, the gossip, the attention, all of this just completely terrifies me. Like, I don't even think my family knows that I cuss a lot, and I say fuck at least 10 times an episode. And I can just see them having a field day with just that alone. My grandmother's going to call me and tell me that I've lost my mind for posting something like this. In all seriousness, though, I just have so many insecurities when it comes to this podcast. And up until now, I've had this feeling like I'm hiding something almost, because not a lot of people in my life know I've been doing this. Some people have even asked me, like, do you have a TikTok? And immediately I'm like, no, I don't have a TikTok. I don't post on there. I'm just on there for work. Like, I'd rather lie than have them look me up on TikTok and just see a bunch of random videos of me talking. But at the same time, I have this really weird complex because I'm really proud of this outlet that I've found for myself. It provides me a way to express myself, and I can do it on my own terms. So after my first few episodes I told myself, you know what, no matter what, I am just hard launching this podcast on my personal profiles in honor of the 1-year episode. And internally, I am just completely freaking out about this, right? But when I really think about it, I know in reality, Nobody fucking cares. Who cares? Nobody's paying attention to me. Everyone is so focused on themselves and their own lives these days. And that's great. They should be, you know? The only thing I am is just one more little scroll of a finger for them. And as soon as I accept that, I think this podcast is going to get a lot better. I think it's like taking the training wheels off in a way. If I really want to continue this and see like where it goes, I have to say fuck it. But to those people in my life who do know that I have been doing this, I just like to say thank you. I'm really not much of a talker. I'm a pretty private person as well. So deciding to pick up a hobby that is centered around getting me out of my comfort zone isn't the easiest, but I greatly appreciate your support. So with that, if you've listened this long, expect to see my ugly mug on your social feeds a few more times a week, or you can unfollow me too. That's totally fine. But new episodes are released every Saturday on YouTube and Spotify. If you'd like to spend a little extra time with me and watch or listen, you can find the last 51 episodes there. I just talk about a bunch of random stuff. But if there are any topics that you think I should know about or you think I should discuss, send them my way. But yeah, that's it. Now today's 420, so I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my day. But until then, talk to you next week.